Something was very wrong in that hearing room, and everyone felt it the moment Pam Bondi said the 7 words no attorney general should ever say. I didn't realize it went to the FBI. That single sentence hit like a shockwave, not because it was dramatic, but because it exposed something far more unsettling: an entire department operating on confusion, guesswork, and directives that even the person in charge couldn't explain. And once that crack opened, the truth pouring out was impossible to ignore. For the first full minute of this story, lock in. Because what happened in this exchange wasn't a simple misunderstanding, a slip of the tongue, or a moment of pressure. It was a window, just a few seconds long, into the internal chaos of the very institution meant to safeguard the nation's justice system.
It's less safe. I firsthand have a positive impact in securing dollars and investments for Gary, Indiana, East Chicago, Lake County, and Michigan City that were force multipliers that were technology such as license plate readers and the COPS grant. I'm asking you today, what can we do to ensure that those funds are going to continue to flow to my district? And in light of the HIDA, I'm in Northwest Indiana, Gary, Indiana. We are a HIDA district where we have the Chicago traffic. That's vitally important to my district. I just need commitments that that funding will continue to be going forward and that our agencies will have that support.
Congressman, thank you for bringing that up. I'm well aware of the HIDA. I believe that's in Maryville. Is that correct?
You are correct.
And yes, that funding will remain where it is. We do not intend on touching that funding. We want to protect HIDA.
Very good. So in light of the escalation with Iran, part of our cybersecurity and our infrastructure when it comes to our electric grid, our banking systems, that is a new threat. Does this budget reflect increasing our cybersecurity protections, and how is the Department of Justice going to protect our infrastructure when it comes to bad actors such as Iran coming directly at our infrastructure in a cyber attack?
Yeah, we have $50 million for cybersecurity, and also in the one big
With an M, 50 million?
50 million,
Okay.
yeah, but also in the one big beautiful bill, it is also addressed to give us more resources. And you know, it's not only
Can I
Iran,
ask-
as you well know, it's China as well. But
Right.
yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
In the
Congressman.
reconciliation, tomato, in the reconciliation bill, can you tell me what more resources are going to go towards cybersecurity? Because I was under the impression that was decreased.
Can I get you, I will get you those numbers.
Okay. Yes.
I want to do everything I can to help you protect cybersecurity, all of us in this country, not only again with Iran, but also with China and all of our foreign adversaries around the world.
Okay. And then just a question of curiosity that I have. Director Patel was here a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about the emails that went to the FBI agents, meaning, please tell us what you did at the end of the week. Give us 5 reasons why you did. At first, Director Patel said that that didn't exist. Then he specifically said, well, that came from the Department of Justice to the FBI agents. And his words, I told them not to fulfill that obligation. How do you manage that if you give a directive to your director of FBI and he chooses not to fulfill that? And where did that information go? So when someone from the FBI, an agent, fulfilled that obligation of giving you the information of what they were working on, where did that data go and how is it secured?
Yeah, and Congressman, I'd be happy to see who answered that, but I asked, when I learned about it, I asked that it be withdrawn, and it was, that email.
When you learned about the email going to the FBI agents, you asked them to withdraw it. Who did you ask to have it withdrawn?
My entire office, and it was.
So it is unknown who sent that email?
Well, it came from my office, but when I learned it went to the FBI, we asked that it be withdrawn.
Where is the gap of my understanding? If it came from your office, you're telling me you didn't send it?
I didn't realize it went to the FBI. That email went out.
So-
and the purpose of that email was to make sure, just so you know, it was to make sure that these people were sitting at their desk and working and alive, that there were people actually
Okay, and
responding.
I agree.
It could have been, I got up and got a cup of coffee.
Sure.
That
So
was
without
the
going into
purpose.
that, the people that did answer it, where did that data go?
I will find out. I will get you that information.
And I only ask as a national security issue as
Absolutely.
they're working on sensitive issues. And I thank you for joining us, and I yield back my time.
Thank you.
And if the nation's top law enforcement officer doesn't know what her own office is sending to federal agents, then the bigger question becomes, who does? Congressman Frank McDean didn't walk into that hearing hoping for a viral moment. He walked in as someone deeply familiar with the stakes: federal dollars, national security, cyber threats, the integrity of communications between the Justice Department and the FBI. He had real questions, necessary questions. And for the most part, the early part of the questioning sounded like standard oversight: budget allocations, grants, funding concerns, cyber defense. But underneath all of that was the moment that would flip the tone of the entire hearing, because then the topic turned to the email. This wasn't just any email. It was a directive, one that asked FBI agents to report back with details about what they'd done at the end of the week. A strange, informal request with no clear purpose, no clear sender, and no clear oversight. When Patel spoke earlier that week, he first denied the email existed. Then he claimed it came from DOJ. Then he said he told agents not to participate. And now here was Bondi, confirming that yes, the email came from her office, but somehow, she didn't know it went to the FBI at all. Those contradictions weren't small. They were seismic, and McDean zeroed in on them with precision. When you learned about the email, he asked, "Who did you ask to withdraw it?" "My entire office." "So it came from your office, but you don't know who sent it." "It came from my office, but I didn't realize it went to the FBI." To anyone listening, it sounded like a puzzle with pieces missing. And every missing piece pointed to something more disturbing: a gap in oversight inside the very department responsible for enforcing the nation's laws. A crack big enough for bad information, bad decisions, or worse, bad intentions to slip through unnoticed. Bondi tried to soften the confusion by saying the email's purpose was simply to check whether agents were at their desks, alive, working, and responsive. But even that explanation raised red flags. Why would such a basic check require a directive sent from DOJ? Why would it sound like a report request? Why would the head of the department not know where those reports ended up? And why would she need her entire office, everyone, collectively, to withdraw something that supposedly wasn't meant to reach the FBI? It didn't add up. And worse, it didn't inspire trust. The conversation turned even more serious when McDean asked the obvious next question, one that anyone concerned about national security would ask: where did the data go? The responses from agents who complied. Where was that information stored? Who collected it? How secure was it? Bondi couldn't answer. She promised to find out. She said she would get back to him. But in that moment, the Attorney General appeared genuinely unsure about what had happened inside her own department. For viewers at home, especially those who understand the sensitivity of internal FBI communications, this moment felt like the kind of scene where the air suddenly thins. Because the Justice Department is not a small agency. It's not a flexible startup or a casual workplace where someone can shrug off oversight mistakes. It's the central nervous system of federal law enforcement. Every directive, every communication, every piece of data carries implications that could affect investigations, safety, and national stability. So, if an email went out without authorization, without oversight, and without explanation, where was the chain of command? Who reviewed it? Who approved it? And if no one did, who made the decision to send it? McDean's questioning was more than justified. It was essential. Because when the nation's top law enforcement official doesn't know what's happening inside her own walls, that's not a political problem. It's a structural problem, a leadership problem, a trust problem. And while the hearing shifted back to cyber threats from Iran and China, a separate but equally serious issue, the tone had already changed. The earlier concerns about cybersecurity funding suddenly felt heavier. If internal DOJ communication was already chaotic, what did that mean for larger, more complex systems? Were the department's cyber defenses as organized as its email process, or just as scattered? Could the same confusion surrounding an internal directive also exist in areas that require even tighter control? Speculation has been circulating online for months about internal instability inside the Justice Department. Some claim staffers hold more power than leadership. Others say decision-making has become fragmented. None of these claims are verified, but the hearing showed something undeniable: a disconnect, a breakdown. A department where information flowed without clarity, where directives seemed detached from authority, where leadership appeared more reactive than prepared. Bondi's body language throughout the exchange told its own story. a mix of defensiveness, surprise, and frustration. Not the posture of someone confidently running the nation's law enforcement system, but the posture of someone caught between what she should know and what she actually knew. As McDean spoke, his tone wasn't hostile. It wasn't performative. It was serious, focused, intent on understanding how something so basic could go so wrong. And viewers could sense why. Because this isn't the type of issue you can dismiss with a shrug. It's not something you can brush off as a clerical error. This is the kind of mistake that exposes the inner workings of a department that must, by necessity, operate with strict precision and airtight communication. If even one screw is loose in the machinery of federal justice, the entire system feels unstable, and that's the deeper point here. This wasn't a story about an email. It wasn't even a story about one attorney general. It was a story about a culture inside the DOJ that seems increasingly reactive, disorganized, and resistant to oversight. A culture where directives go out without accountability, where confusion is commonplace, where leadership treats serious questions like minor inconveniences. A department that functions like this doesn't just inconvenience Congress. It weakens public trust. It erodes confidence. It raises doubts about whether the system meant to enforce the law is following it internally. And if oversight becomes optional, if leadership can claim ignorance, if accountability becomes an afterthought, then the public is left wondering what else is happening behind the scenes that no one knows about. McDean's questioning mattered because it forced these issues into the light. His persistence revealed cracks that had been forming long before this email. And while Bondi promised answers, the damage wasn't in what she didn't know. It was in the fact that she didn't know it at all. A justice system built on confusion cannot deliver justice. A department that cannot track its own directives cannot safeguard the nation. And an attorney general who doesn't know what her office is sending cannot rebuild public trust. This moment was more than awkward. It was alarming. And the only way to prevent history from repeating itself is to stay aware, stay informed, and keep holding those in power accountable. That if you want more breakdowns of hearings, investigations, and political moments that expose what's really happening behind the scenes, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next video.